What you can see is, well, they're about half a lane off. So if you were driving using the GPS, you would be in trouble. The way that we do that is we compare the laser data that we're seeing live, which is represented by these rings and all these points, with the underlying map. And what you can see is, if I play it again at the very beginning, you can see that the curves don't line up initially. Lo and behold, surprise. And then when we localize, boom, now things are lining up. The brightness in the laser data is lining up with the map, so that's how we know we're properly localized. And that's very, very accurate. So what's lovely is, you drive under a bridge, or you go through a tunnel, or you're stuck in a parking garage, and GPS can completely go out to lunch, and you're fine. We still have very, very precise positioning. So then we know where we are. Then there's this business of building this really lovely map. This is sort of an interesting exercise. Our mapping tools are pretty automated so that we can map very quickly. We go out and collect data with one of the cars, and then we build the intensity map, the brightness map that I was just showing you, and then we annotate it with all this vector data, all this what we call the road graph. And here's showing us building the road graph of Lombard Street. So most of the time it's automated. Lombard Street's a little bit of a special case, and it takes a little bit of extra work. But here you can see you've got the lane, and now it's connecting up, and how does it connect up to the other lanes? And there's some stop signs. So all of that information, again, is encoded into the map and available for the car to use. So now we know where we are in the world. We know where other important lanes and crosswalks and traffic lights are with respect to us. Now the problem is to take the live perception data, the things that are happening around us, and incorporate them into this map. So this is an example of our perception system running on the freeway, and it's an interesting problem. There's a big truck passing us on the right, that purple thing. And then there's this motorcycle lane splitting on our left. And this is a tough case because the motorcycle is a really small object and it gets really close to other things, and yet we want to keep it, we want to track it as an independent, as a separate object, and make sure that we accommodate it properly and keep track of it properly. So this is really kind of cool. I don't recommend lane splitting though. So now we've got all these perception objects, which are these sort of purple boxes around us that represent where the cars currently are and what's going on. Now we add in vision. So as I said, we detect traffic lights with it. We also can detect construction zones. So here's a construction zone, here's a sign and a couple of cones. It's hard to see in this image. But that is showing up ahead, and we show this little warning, hey, some kind of construction zone going on. You might want to slow down. You might want to change lanes. This is an old video, I apologize, but it shows, again, this concept that in the map we actually have the three-dimensional position of the traffic lights, and we also know which traffic lights are relevant for the lanes that we want to drive in. So as we approach this intersection, we actually know exactly where in the image to look. Those blue boxes aren't being done by a vision-based system. They're being projected. They're being placed into the image because we know exactly where to look. So those brake lights of the cars, there's no chance that we'll become confused about whether or not they're relevant for this intersection, because we know exactly where to look for the traffic lights. It also speeds things up a lot. Another thing that we do is we take into account where we can see and where we can't. We call this occlusions, call this sort of the field of view. This is the empty space. The space around us that we can see is clear. So you can see all these other objects, they cast shadows effectively. So if there's a big truck or a car and we can't see behind it, well, we know we can't see behind it. Okay, that's good. But we know we can see from here to there, and we can reason about that. So here's a case, for instance, where we're reasoning about a crosswalk that's up ahead, and there's this big truck to our right, and it's stopped for some reason. Now that makes me really nervous. Why is the big truck stopped at a crosswalk? Well, it's because there might be someone hiding in that crosswalk or walking across in the crosswalk. The truck's blocking your view so you don't see the pedestrian, but you still slow down because they might be there. So that's exactly what we do. We reason that the crosswalk may be occluded, and we reduce our speed until we can see that it's clear, and then carry on. So that's occlusions. Finally, we have to come up with a plan. So the planner, which is what I spend most of my time working on, has to put all this information together. It knows where the nominal lane is that it wants to follow. It knows where other cars are that it might want to kind of scoot away from if they start getting friendly. And it knows about the rules of the road, that you have to stop for traffic lights. That's an important one. But also, in this video, it shows another interesting one. There's a railroad crossing up ahead, and we're deciding not to cross the railroad crossing until the car in front of us is all the way across. In other words, we're making sure that we have room on the other side before we start to cross it, because we don't want to get stuck halfway.